The decision has been met with mixed reaction, why some say justice was not served.
A little moisture slipping up to the south. We may see a thunderstorm or two tomorrow, and then cooler air moves in by Sunday. We'll have the forecast for you. The news at 6 starts now.
Live from Idaho's News Channel 7, this is the News at 6.
I hope and I pray that cool heads will prevail. I'm a man of faith, and I believe nothing happens without a reason, and I believe that there's a higher power watching over us. And I think that with that, I think that the community in time will heal.
Words of hope from the Adams County Sheriff today after the decision of not to charge 2 of his deputies in the shooting death of Council Rancher Jack Yantis. Welcome to the News at 6. It's a story we've been following closely for months. And as you may remember, Yantis was killed on November 1st after dispatchers asked him to put down one of his bulls that had been hit by a car on Highway 95. After arriving on scene with his rifle to kill the animal, Yantis was shot 12 times by deputies Cody Rowland and Brian Wood. Tonight, we know the deputies will not face state or federal charges for their actions. And before we get to Alex Livingston and Shannon Camp, let's get out to Morgan Boynston in council with what the Adams County Sheriff has to say.
Brian, I just talked to Adams County Sheriff Ryan Zolman about an hour and a half ago. He tells me he's relieved that the AG's findings have come out, but he can't discuss the case in depth right now because that civil tort claim is still looming over them. He says right now that we may never know the answer to what really took place that night, and he wishes there was something more clear-cut. Unfortunately, it's something we may never find out. Deputies Wood and Rowland are still on administrative leave, and Zolman says they would like to come back, but there's a process and standard protocol that will take time. The Sheriff's Office will go over the Attorney General and Idaho State Police reports and look at if any policies or violations occurred. They have no timeline on when that'll take place. He says as far as the community here in council goes, it's been pretty divided, with people taking the sheriff's side and people taking the Yantis family side. His message for the community is this: we need to heal and we need to come together. Take a listen.
I think that the community in time will heal, and we just need to keep focused on that. And we don't want to make a already bad situation even worse by in any way, shape, or form retaliating or acting out in a poor manner.
He says it's a bad time for these findings to come out, actually, because right across the street from where I'm at right now is the Adams County Fair, where 25 to 50 kids work year-round to hold projects for this event.
I spoke with the Attorney General's office 3 weeks ago and asked that this not be released now, this week, just for the sake of the children and the kids. We didn't need this distraction to interfere with their stuff. So I'm a little disappointed with the timing of the release. It was not the best timing for our community right now.
In addition to that, he says the sheriff's office is tense and officers are on higher alert, especially with everything going on in our country right now. He says the sheriff's office has been stretched thin. They have 6 officers, 4 deputies, the undersheriff, and the sheriff himself. Being down 2 officers has really negatively affected their department, he says, because their resources and services have been stretched thin. And now I also just talked to members of the Justice for Jack Yantis group who tell me they're disappointed that justice was not served in this case. They believe that law enforcement in this case was not above the law. You'll hear more from them coming up on the news at 10 tonight.
Thank you, Morgan. And at a news conference this morning, Attorney General Lawrence Wasden made the announcement that he was not pursuing criminal charges against deputies Brian Wood and Cody Rowland. He called this a highly complex case with contradicting statements from the 4 primary witnesses involved. He said that made it extremely difficult to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Let's go to Alex Livingston now. She was at the Capitol for today's announcement. Alex?
Brian, discrepancies between statements wasn't the only issue Attorney General Lawrence Wasden faced when coming to this decision. There were also pieces of evidence not accounted for. 21 shots were fired that night. Wasden says Deputy Brian Wood fired 4, including the fatal shot, and Deputy Cody Rowland fired 16, some of which hit the bull while it became agitated. However, only 18 rounds have been accounted for, not including the bullet officials say Yantis fired. Wasden says there was a .20 caliber bullet found in the middle of the street, which matches the type of gun Yantis brought to the scene to euthanize the bull. Officials, however, were not able to confirm if it came from Yantis's gun or not. The Yantis family filed a tort claim against Adams County in late April, and because the county did not respond or deny the claims, this case will move to the lawsuit phase.
You know, we've been asking for a copy of the information, witness statements, officer statements, body cam, dash cam type videos, anything and everything. And for 9 months, we've not been able to get any of that information.
We have made the determination that there is not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. We are not saying that the officers were justified, nor are we saying that the officers were not justified.
The evidence that proves Yantis fired a single shot despite not being able to recover that bullet is that there was a spent shell casing in the chamber of his rifle. And according to the report released by the Attorney General's office, Deputy Rowland claims he saw and felt muzzle blasts from Yantis's rifle. Wasden says Rowland's clothing and gear were tested, and officials could not confirm a bullet strike or muzzle blast. Brian?
Thank you, Alex. Well, as you can imagine, today's decision has been met with some mixed reaction, that and the timing, and some people saying that justice was not served. For more on how people are responding, both in council or outside of council, that is, to this findings in this investigation, our Shannon Kemp joins us now in studio.
Brian, the Attorney General said today that this was not an easy decision to reach. He called this a tragic event that has been catastrophic to the community. Tonight, we hear reaction from this decision on both sides, including the Yantis family.
You may agree with it, you may disagree with it, you may violently disagree with it, but at least we have a decision.
Idaho Attorney General Lawrence Wasden's decision not to charge 2 Adams County deputies for their role in the shooting death of council rancher Jack Yantis has been met with mixed reaction.
Well, even getting shot once or twice would be overly aggressive, but 12 times? That's insane. Yeah.
As a former Idaho AG himself, Dave Leroy knows that decisions like these don't come easy.
They are difficult because there are people questions involved, there are legal questions involved, and getting them right, especially where you're not going to bring a prosecution, is a matter of some personal concern to the elected official.
It took 9 months to complete the investigation into the actions of Deputy Cody Rowland and Deputy Brian Wood. But in the end, neither will face state or federal charges. The U.S. Attorney's Office said of its decision, Mr. Yantis' death is tragic, is a tremendous loss to his family, and has had a substantial effect on the Adams County community. However, the evidence does not meet the substantial evidentiary requirements imposed by criminal law.
We're training police to be overly aggressive, and something happens, and it's always that the police get off.
And he was
shot. This went from dinner to getting shot in 5 minutes. It's totally ridiculous.
For supporters of Jack Yantis, the news comes as a blow, falling hardest on the rancher's family.
Well, undoubtedly the Yantis family and us as their lawyers are both disappointed at some level in the failure of the state or the federal authorities to pursue a criminal case.
Chuck Peterson is representing the Yantis family in the civil case it filed against the Adams County Sheriff's Office. He said while the Yantises are upset with this decision, they're glad that the investigation has finally come to a close.
But at the other end of the spectrum, we are both also somewhat, I guess, relieved that at least we're finally going to be able to take a look at the investigation that took place nearly 9 months ago.
Idaho State Police acted as the lead investigator in this case. ISP Chief Bill Gardner declined to comment on the investigation, but he did say that his thoughts and prayers are with the Yantis family and the community of council tonight. So, Brian, we've heard from Sheriff Zolman, we've heard from lead investigators, the Attorney General, and after 9 months, this still has people divided, not only in council, but across Idaho and across the country, which, you know, with law enforcement relations as they are today, should really come as no surprise.
And after 9 months, there's really not a true conclusion just yet, because we're going to see how this may or may not affect the civil lawsuit that's going forward.
Well, absolutely. As you'll remember in that tort claim, the family's side of the story, those other 2 witnesses, which were Jack Yantis' wife and his nephew, is very different from what those deputies told the Attorney General. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out in the months to come.
And we'll definitely keep an eye on it. Thank you, Shannon. Well, to look back at all the events leading up to today's decision, just head to our website, ktvb.com, and there you can find the full interview from today's news conference, along with the reaction from other officials and Justice for Jack supporters. Just head to our website at ktvb.com.